Yeah, maybe, but the racket will talk.
Good morning. We're back for the preview of the men's final. I'm outside once again, even though the weather's not quite as good. I suppose technically maybe we're on roof watch. I don't know what the forecast is saying, but it's grey here, and usually the weather here is pretty much the weather in Wimbledon, so maybe there'll be a roof element to today. Yeah, we're gonna do a preview of the men's final. Probably gonna be a super exciting one. If you aren't aware, it will be a rematch of the Roland Garros final. So Carlos Alcaraz taking on Jannik Sinner. They're the number 1 and 2 seeds, right?
Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
Unquestionably the best players in the world. They have between them won the last 6 slams and will be 7 because they're playing each other in the final. So yeah, the matchup we were expecting and many people were predicting and expecting, but for it to happen again, I mentioned in yesterday's pod that it's the first rematch of a Roland Garros men's final in the Wimbledon final since 2008. So signs, that's I think that means things. Um yeah. By the way, this is the Racket Will Talk podcast. We are a tennis podcast, and I didn't say the name of it, but it's it's early. I'm feeling tired. I'm looking tired.
It's
How
a
are you
bonus
doing?
episode.
Yeah, it's a
I'm
bonus episode, so you don't need to know what you're
I'm
listening to.
I'm doing great. Yeah, really excited for today, of course. It's honestly basically the moment they left that like court, Philippe Chatrier. I was honestly but already thinking about the Wimbledon final because I just felt really great about their respective chances to just get there again and just to
Mm.
make it happen. But that's kind of what happens when you have a matchup that is so exciting, so fun, so good. You're looking for the next one, and obviously, with such a tight turnaround, uh, yeah, that's kind of how things work, I guess, or at
Mm.
least how I work.
Especially when the all of the other players are so far from these two.
Hmm.
You're It's like the only matchup you're looking forward to. Imagine if it were Yannick against Alex de Minaur in the final. Like, yeah. So
Ooh,
it's
yeah.
it's like it's pretty much all or nothing. If you get the all, it could be excellent, but there's quite a high chance of getting the nothing, which is what we saw with Zverev in the Australian Open, to an extent with Fritz in the US Open. Like, it can be not so great,
Hmm.
especially when it's Yannick facing them. So, do you want to talk a little bit about how they got to the final? Pretty uneventful.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we last talked about the men on in the quarterfinal preview. And I mean, the quarterfinal matches were really eventful, both of them for Alcaraz and Sinner. I mean, Shelton had a serve and a dream, and Norrie had honestly nothing at all. So that's
Who was who?
Norrie, he faced Alcaraz.
Nori. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had nothing at all. So that was,
Did he
you
have a
know,
dream?
maybe you
We
need
couldn't
to
see
ask
it if
him.
he did.
Yeah, it was hard to tell. No, it's there wasn't, yeah, not much doubt. I mean, the only like thing we were maybe concerned about was how Yannick's elbow would pull up in that quarterfinal match, and you could tell basically from ball one that well he was going to pull up. Okay,
Yeah, I wasn't concerned.
it was just uncertainty. It's I guess it's about like trusting basically modern medicine because he was
Modern
obviously.
medicine.
Yeah, that sounds like doping shade, but it's really not. It's when you like when it's just about like managing like pain, and like nothing is actually like broken basically. I think there's actually quite a lot that they can do in like 2 days to just get someone ready to play well,
Mm.
and
And
that's what.
go
Yeah,
on.
go for it. Go for
Okay.
it.
I reckon a lot of the assessment that is done is, will this injury get worse if you play on it? And like, once you're clear to say no or like unlikely, then it's about the pain management, right? But I think that's good. That's going to
Hmm.
be a big question that they ask, because if it is going to get worse, you play on it. then you don't want to play on it.
Yeah.
It's kind of
And honestly, that even might have been what injured him in the first place. Maybe he could have played normally, basically after that fall in the Dimitrov match. But also, when you're there, you just fell and you feel like a lot of pain. It's like, oh, can I just go ahead and hit everything basically as hard as I can, or am I just going to make things worse? It's in your mind at least, even if you could theoretically play fine through the pain, I guess.
yeah.
So yeah.
So the only sets Yannick has dropped are the two to Dimitrov. So
Hmm.
he hasn't played a single match where both players won sets. Yeah.
This match alone makes this run really unusual, and I guess if he does win, that's going to be probably a big talking point, I suppose.
Yeah, I
Um,
can't wait for more discourse. I'm
mm,
really needing it after yesterday.
yes, of
Uh,
course.
you know what I do find interesting, just kind of before we get into the match, how I'm really surprised at how much the Yannick doping case has had cut through to public. There's lots of people I'm speaking to, it's Wimbledon time. They know I'm a tennis fan. They'll come and speak to me. They say, "Have you been watching Wimbledon?" And then I ask them whether they have, who they like, who they've been watching, who they're rooting for. A lot of people don't like Yannick, and a lot of people think he's a, filthy doper and stuff. And I don't know. I didn't expect it to be that
Mm,
well known in the sort of public, because I think Iga's
yeah.
case really isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think it also because it's coincided. I mean, not really coincided, but doping case, and at the same time, Sinner had become the best player in the world and went on to win like the next two slams. So he, as his popularity and like notoriety was rising because he just kept winning, this doping thing just became a much bigger deal. Whereas Iga was already like really established, and she obviously had the case, but she was also like kind of flopping. So it was not like people were hearing that much else about her. So,
Mm. Yeah, I guess
so
so. Yeah, yeah. Yannick's star was rising, and then
yeah.
in that there's this doping case. I also think
Mhm.
um it seems to be the severity of them is treated a lot differently. One is like kind of is pretty um mysterious and questionable. That's the Yannick one.
Mhm.
And I think Iga's case for most people is pretty straightforward. Like
Yeah.
we know what happened
Uh,
here, and we trust that her
mhm.
story is accurate, and that like she wasn't really at
Mhm.
fault. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. And also, she didn't get a ban. So, or she did, but
she did.
it was like a shadow ban that like no one was talking about. Whereas Sinner was literally the best player in the world and just
Mm.
had to stop playing for like 3 months. So that's
It's
also
it's a bit
different.
weird that people don't talk about the ban that Iga had, because it was like it's kind of like it was like a silent ban, right?
Yeah, more or less, yeah. And it also was honestly, it also was during a time when like no one really cares about tennis. So it's the
Yeah.
September through early November period. And it's like, well,
Mm.
it's not like everyone was like really paying attention.
Yeah. Anyway, not actually a doping updates podcast. We're
We've
move
already
on
done
to
our
the
part.
yeah. So that was the quarterfinals. In the semifinals, pretty uneventful as well. Yannick played Djokovic, and Alcaraz played Taylor Fritz. That's the right way around. Um, Yannick now has beaten Djokovic. The last three slam matches they've played have all been no, they haven't been straight sets.
No.
Djokovic won a set in Australia, but uh 9 sets for Sinner, 1 set for Djokovic. It seemed quite early on in that match that Novak didn't have it. I think he's a tiny bit injured. Um, not it wasn't a scoreline because this is elite Novak who is injured. It was a scoreline because this is kind of getting older Novak who is a little bit
Yeah.
injured, and it feels like towards the end, I think, in terms of especially for his reign as the best, right? I think he can still be there and still compete, and if he doesn't have to play Yannick, great chances against everyone else in the world. But kind of feels like
Mm.
he's on the way on his way out.
Yes, and it's I do think that fall against Demino in the quarters ended up being fairly significant in the way he was able to like prepare and stuff. But it's just about him being basically unfit at the end of those slams, and it's happened before. Not always in the same way, not always to the same degree, but he said it. He's like, well, I end up showing up late in slams, and I'll have to play these guys who are extremely good that I would need my best uh, to have some sort of hopes that I can beat them, and it's just not there. Um, and even in the match he won against Carlos at the AO, he was already feeling quite physically that he managed to pull out of to make something out of that match, but it feels like it's basically always a factor now, late at his slams, which is a shame because that's obviously where his focus is always most noticeable. That's still where he plays his best. But at the end of the day, when they get to that stage, it's just not really there.
And again, not meant to be a podcast about Novak, but I think the injury affecting you more, getting more injured more often when you get older is expected because he's trying to move in the way he used to, or he's having to overcompensate for things that he doesn't have anymore, and that's just pushing your body further. Anyway, that semi-final, Jannik really rolled through. The third set, Djokovic had points for a 4-love lead, and at that point, it was like, okay, he could get a set here. I don't think anyone realistically expected anything else. I mean, obviously I tweeted that he was coming back from 2 sets down, but not realistically expecting that. Jannik held that game, and then it just completely flipped on its head, and I don't think Djokovic won another game. So I think it was 6-3, 6-3, 6-3 in the end. Yeah, it's just a very hard matchup, and Jannik did what he needed to do.
Yes. And the others.
How did you feel?
Oh.
How did you feel about his performance, though? Did you think it was particularly good or just fine?
I thought it was good. It's weird because I've basically watched basically every match he's played. Actually, no, I didn't watch the first like 2, but because I was in London. But yeah, for the first time this tournament, I was really thinking about his movement. He looks so quick to me. It's like in so many points when he was like stretched out or like in defense, or he had to like come to the net really quickly because of a drop shot or something. Or a volley, he looked so quick, like so ready to get to everything and to make every ball. I felt that was probably his most like intense physical performance, which obviously felt like a pretty big contrast against Novak, who couldn't produce anything close to that. So yeah, that's what I felt about his performance. Striking the ball well, of course, that's kind of always there, I suppose, but yeah.
And Alcaraz, who played Taylor Fritz in the semi-finals, and I think you were quite impressed by Fritz. I mean, throughout the tournament, but in that match as well.
It's honestly for an Alcaraz match, it was actually pretty boring. But that's kind of, they played ATP grass tennis is what it is. So there's like no other way to sum it up. Just like really serve dominated. I mean, basically, literally first set, Fritz got broken in the first game, and it was 6-4 Alcaraz without like any shadow of a doubt that it would go this way. And basically, that's kind of like how most of it went. When Alcaraz could get to break like fairly early on, it was just done very quickly. Fritz really never had hope to get back into it. And in the 2 other sets, one that Fritz won, that was the second set, and the fourth set, which he also almost won, because that's in those sets he was able to like create scoreboard pressure by just holding, putting some pressure on the Alcaraz return, and also getting to a tiebreak, which also gave him some chances. So that's kind of how it happened.
Alcaraz's serving in that match, it was excellent, good, fine. I know at Wimbledon he sometimes kind of becomes a serve bot, or on grass as well. He can really start serving quite well. How was it?
I felt like it was basically good all the way. I mean, he only got broken one, so and I actually felt like Fritz was returning pretty well for the most part, like really going after the second serve in particular, really like doing lots of damage whenever he could, and he was pretty successful. But yeah, he served well. If anything, in the two sets he kind of struggled in. Second serve returning was sometimes a bit rough. He like missed a bunch late in the fourth, which basically enabled Fritz to just get to that tiebreak without much fuss. So he was serving well. He served great, I think, in the quarters. In most matches on grass this year, really. In Queen especially, it was really impressive. But Wimbledon probably doesn't play quite as fast. So
Yeah, so pretty like it was as you said, as soon as the Roland Garros final finished, it was like, okay, let's go to Wimbledon. And it was always quite likely that they were going to play in the Wimbledon final. I suppose bit of a question mark on that once Sinner lost to Bublik, but as soon as the tournament started, it just looked like almost inevitable, and it seemed like really Novak was the only person who could come in between that, and he was on the side of the draw that you think it's less likely for that to happen in. Perhaps if he played Alcaraz rather than Sinner, better chances. Although even then, at Wimbledon, of course, Alcaraz has beaten him 2 years in a row in the final. So felt inevitable, and here we are. Both of them making it there pretty hassle-free, I guess. Even Alcaraz, a little bit of hassles along the way, of course, because of who he is. Jannik, of course, had that Dimitrov match where things were looking very, very, very dodgy, but here we are. We'll get onto the match. I think it's probably, at least from my perspective, this is a bit more about our excitement for the match, our feelings, and maybe some expectations. Because I think from a kind of analysis perspective, there's not it's quite known. We've seen the match a lot of times in the way that we hadn't seen the Anisimova-Swiatek matchup at all. We don't know. We couldn't really know for sure what they would do against each other. This matchup we've seen, we know what it's going to be like. We know the players, both of them, quite well, how they'll play in Slam finals. So I think it's going to be a bit more about how we feel about the match. How do you feel?
I'm excited once again. It's honestly, it's like the matches are at RG and Wimbledon probably are more exciting than they would be on hard courts. Although I would probably still like to see that as well, because it's at the moment it feels like the gap is is closer on natural surfaces between the two of them than they would be on hard courts. Because
I mean, Alcaraz still won the last 3 or 4 or whatever on hard courts.
yeah, but not as the slams.
I
It's
know,
it's
but
one
the
it's one
Sinner
of those
hasn't.
things.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that like Sinner's a better hard court player,
Mm.
absolutely. But like and more likely to win the hard court slams. But you put them on court against each other.
Yeah,
I don't.
no, sure, but also that's two slam final in a row on Alcaraz's turf, basically, and Alcaraz hasn't made a hardcore slam final since 2022. So
Mhm.
it's one of those things, I guess, where just getting there was just felt more likely, I guess, and just in the way it impacts the matchups, I do think it's probably more interesting and a bit less known, I guess, as well.
Mhm.
Although I guess we had seen quite a bit on clay by now. And on grass, I mean, they've only played at Wimbledon. That was 2022. Obviously, very different settings, different players. None of them had won the slam, actually, quite kind of well to think about. And yeah, Yannick won that in four. I doubt this matchup will play out in the same way at all, really. Just both of them are just way too different. And but as far as excitement, it's just that feeling. I guess the RG final kind of sets us up for a bit of disappointment to an extent, because what are the odds that it's going to be as good? Pretty low.
Hmm. I
But
think they're lucky, or we're lucky in that it's a different surface. So if it were like, oh, they'd played the best US Open final ever, and then you go into Australia and you're expecting exactly the same thing because it's also on a hard court, maybe then we'd have a bit more disappointment, but because it's a different surface, it's kind of there's an excitement from that element. How will this matchup play out when they are the two best players in the world, and it's on grass, and it's a Wimbledon final? As you mentioned, that 2022 match, it's the last time Alcaraz has lost at Wimbledon. So Jannik is the last player who's beaten him at Wimbledon. He's 3 finals since then, 2 titles, 1 pending. Yeah, I made it very known that before the Roland Garros final, I had a super strong feeling, like I was so confident that Alcaraz would win. And I was confident even though I acknowledged it would be close. I wasn't like, oh, Alcaraz will win and it's going to be a beat down and that's where my confidence is at. It was like, I'm super confident that Alcaraz will win a tight match. Maybe not quite as tight, but I just felt it. I don't know. I don't have any. I really am struggling to get feelings for this match because I mentioned it in the quarterfinal preview that I am a bit concerned about Alcaraz's like gas. I think from a physical perspective, he's fine. Like really, this guy is insanely fit. But from a everything else perspective, he's been playing finals since Madrid non-stop, and he's had quite a lot of success as well. How is that, can he bring that Roland Garros intensity and desire and will in Wimbledon? And I even think, that he didn't bring it at the beginning of Roland Garros. He kind of struggled to find it. He had to get himself into a bad situation, into a bit of jeopardy in order to get that, access that level and access that focus and desire. And I'm a bit like wondering whether a bit of kind of complacency and I guess a kind of accumulation of everything will show up in this final when he's finally eventually playing an opponent who's kind of worthy of testing him. So I think that it's in the back of my mind, that element.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel?
I think they both. I mean, I do agree that Alcaraz has that whole challenge of just having to keep it up again and again for like so many months. And from a Sinner perspective, it's more like how much did that final impact him, I guess. That's pretty hard thing to go through. And I guess he did mention it in Harley. He was like, yeah, I guess it was still kind of on my mind, which you wouldn't blame him for. But yeah, it's just about how how do they both like manage those things. Ultimately, I do think it will still be about tennis and how they both handle that specific matchup in those specific conditions. I think they will both show up to an extent. I don't think we'll get a like straightforward match either way. Like I can't imagine this being in 3 sets. That doesn't seem realistic at all. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Where were we?
You were saying the RG final was 4 sets, and I mean it was, but if it ended in 4, it would have been like a fine match, decent slam final, like better than the last previous 2 actually.
But
But
you would have thought Alcaraz didn't really show up fully. You would have,
yeah,
especially if he'd gotten broken on the championship points, it would have been like, oh, bit of a limp way to go out. You didn't even force him to serve it out.
yeah, I guess
He
it would have
managed to
been
sneak a
like,
set, but I don't know. I kind of see. I'm kind of concerned that might happen in the Wimbledon final as well. And it's not because I think Alcaraz is a bad big match player at all. It really is this kind of accumulation thing that I'm wary of, and I just don't think that affects Yannick ever. I think he can have a similar run to this, and he doesn't ever play like that. He doesn't ever have a slam final where he doesn't properly show up at the beginning. Yeah, yeah. If it were just a tennis perspective, I do still think Alcaraz has the tools on grass to win this match. I love his grass game. I think I always thought it was going to be great. He was going to be great on that surface. Because it's more than just a tennis match. I think I'm going towards Sinner. And another thing that I felt quite strongly about before Roland Garros was like, I don't think Alcaraz will want his rival to kind of be closing in on him in such a way. Jannik winning a slam final against him on clay, closing the slam gap, then kind of going into Wimbledon probably being the favourite, and having won 3 slams in a row. I think Carlos wanted to do everything in his power to prevent that, but now he kind of has the upper hand. And if he were to win today, what's that, 7 slams for him? Is that 7?
No, 6.
6, sorry. 6 for him. 6?
Yeah.
Okay. 6 for him.
He's 5-0 in slam final.
Okay. 6 for him and 3 for Sinner. That's the Iga Sabalenka gap. That is that's a far less high pressure situation than it would have been in the Roland Garros final if the results were flipped, and it would have been 5-4, right?
Yeah. No, it would have been 4-4.
4-4. Why am I struggling so much? Yeah, okay, it would have been 4-4, right? So going into that, it's just huge pressure on that for Alcaraz. Whereas this, I think he feels he's gonna have to feel a little bit more complacent, and like if it's not as do or die. I don't know. But maybe I'm seeing it from too much of a negative perspective and thinking that Alcaraz is focused on what he has to lose rather than what he has to gain. And I think he is very good at doing both. I don't know which one he will, have in the front of his mind today, whether he'll be that like engaging, thrilling, exciting Alcaraz who just feels like he's got the world at his feet and he wants it so bad and he can get it, or he'll be a little bit like heavy pressure Alcaraz that we've seen a few times, not tons, but I do remember seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that whole like psychological aspect is very interesting. Honestly, when some matches are this close, like when they are as close to the RG final, you kind of always end up going there. Although one thing I do disagree on is from like a purely like tennis perspective, I actually don't mind this grass matchup thing. I honestly I do probably still like it better than on clay.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure. I definitely think that's true. I think Alcaraz's game is great on grass. I think Sinner's game is great on grass. Like I don't necessarily think it's an excellent clay game. It's excellent because it's an excellent game. I think it's an excellent grass game.
Yeah.
And we noticed that because this is where his best slam results were earliest. The 5-setter against Novak, his first slam semi-final, etc.
Yeah, it's just like honestly, my take on the matchup probably hasn't changed. Literally, it's same players playing at a similar level than they did a month ago. But basically, to like summarize it, to make it very simple, Alcaraz wants to like win it from the baseline in like longer rallies, and Sinner wants to win it on his serve and return edge, basically. And that seems just more likely to happen on grass. Like very like typically the match that Alcaraz played against Fritz, he loses that against Sinner most of the time, I think. It just but obviously that's where the like psychological thing, the whole Alcaraz super high peak thing, they all like come into play and make me think that it's probably won't be like the Fritz match again, but like with a better version of Fritz being Sinner. It's not that simple. That's not really how tennis works, and that's not how these two work, I don't think. But yeah, just like analyzing how the surface like impacts like respective tennis and prospects. I do like it for Sinner and for the way it just translates, I guess.
But having said that, Sinner's serve against Alcaraz is like, I think you think it's the big thing that it seems to affect this matchup. For some reason, he serves really badly against him.
Mm.
And it's low percentage. It's not even like he's not winning as many points on his serve. And then we could say, well, Alcaraz is a great returner. It's like his first serve percentage goes down to something in the 50s, right?
Yeah, I think it was like 50, between 50 and 55 in the RG final, and in like basically every match they've played in like for like a while. So it's just one of those things. Yeah, it's something. I guess he really maybe it's something about him knowing that's a big key in this matchup, and like maybe thinking about it a bit too much or something. Um, it will be interesting. Obviously, yes, that's something to really pay attention to. Just how many first service you're making. Like if like a good sign would be like him holding super easily in the first three games. So that didn't even happen in the RG final. So we're both like tussling in like every game. So yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, something I'm going to be watching out for is, as you said, Yannick's movement on the grass seems really, really good. I've been really impressed by it, and it feels like his defense. He's very rarely defending, but his defense is excellent because his movement's so good. And I think usually this is an edge we give to Alcaraz on clay court, definitely, even on the hard court.
Mhm.
He can't defend as well on grass, and it's not a him thing. You can't defend as well on grass. Like you can't go sliding around getting as many balls back, and I do think that was a relevant part of the Roland Garros match, and it got him a bit back into it. I think he's gonna. I think that might be the deciding factor for me. This is kind of why I'm leaning towards Yannick. Uh, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess one more thing on that whole matchup. If you like look at what Sinner struggled with in this tournament, you go to Dimitrov and you think, so what else did Dimitrov do aside from serving great and hitting his forehand great, which is, the obvious. He sliced, and that's quite really a lot, and that seemed to bother Sinner at points. So maybe that would be something Alcaraz would look to implement,
Mm.
which I think it makes sense, and we probably will see it to an extent. But I think when the chips are down, I think he'll just look to honestly hit, and or even like on like really big pressure points, maybe he'll think about the RG match point and be like, well, maybe I need to just lock in on defense, and maybe I can win that way. That's also kind of the tiebreak against Fritz finished. Like Fritz was in rather offensive positions. He had a few forehands from the middle of the court that he didn't do quite enough with, and Alcaraz was just able to defend super well and make a mess, basically. So that's, I think, how it probably could play out in key moments. It's yeah.
Yeah. Uh, the one thing I will say is that as much as Alcaraz is way better than Dimitrov, I think Dimitrov's slice is like one of the best. So
Mhm.
it's not just about like choosing to slice, it's about having
Yeah.
the ability for that to be a consistently incredible shot. And I think that Dimitrov has
Mm.
that more than any player on tour right now. So, and you're right, Alcaraz likes to hit, and he doesn't really like to play the long game and say, "Oh, let's see if I can force an error by like with my guile." And no, he wants to smash a winner past you. He wants to come in and do a volley. You
Mm.
know,
He was
drop
actually
shot.
even a bit. He was like slightly annoyed with the way he saved those match runs. You were like, "Oh, I wish the points were like cooler or something." He was like, "Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that adds up."
exactly. He had to hit with depth and hit heavy and kind of
And
draw
be
an arrow
solid.
through. Yeah, be solid. He didn't. Yeah, imagine him
Mm.
playing doubles with Pagula. That's what we need to see at the US Open.
Mm.
Yeah, I am interested. It's always the case. Like, how will Alcaraz's other bits come to play? It's the drop shot, the net play. Is he going to go heavy on that? Does he think that if it's a baseline rally with Yannick and they're just kind of exchanging ground strokes, deep ground strokes until one of them gets a short ball or forces an error? Is he confident in that setup? I would suggest he shouldn't be.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know how he'll feel, but yeah, I don't think he should feel great about that.
You know what?
It's
I know how he needs to win. He junk ball. If he can
mm.
play like Vondrousova and Krejcikova in the last two Wimbledon
And
finals.
Laura Sigmund.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. He needs to go and watch before the match, last few hours, watch Sigmund Savalenka. But I really think, people want sometimes players want their grass court tennis to be very beautiful and sometimes junk it up. You can hit a moon ball. It's not illegal. You
Mm.
can sort of stand a bit deeper and hit up defensive lobs. Like I do think it's always pretty much always going to be the case in this matchup. Alcaraz needs a bit of the bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is, because if you literally go and trying to make it a ball striking contest, I don't think he wins that very often, if
Mm.
at all. Yeah, it's really interesting. As you said, I do think actually height might even be important, even though it's grass, so it's going to be a bit lower naturally. But he needs to still be focused on that, and I guess I think it's tempting for him. I think the when he comes in against Sinner, the temptation is to just try to go power to power and play this like kind of like cliche like manly approach to the match, oh, I'll hit bigger, I'll hit bigger, I'll serve better. It's one of those things. I think it's a bit tempting for him, but he needs to stay away from that, like at all costs.
Don't try and be a man, Carlos.
No.
You ought to play like the junkiest WTA player.
Mm.
Yeah. I there was something that I thought to mention, but I can't remember it. Um Physically they're both fine. Like if this goes long, no issues.
The roof might be on if they go too long, actually. So
For darkness?
yes, I think so,
Okay.
because it starts at 4, which is pretty late.
That is really late. And who does that affect? I know you're the roof guy.
It's love playing indoors
Okay.
always.
Oh yeah, of course. Actually, and Alcaraz hates it.
Hmm.
Yeah, the early part of his career, Sinner was kind of an indoor merchant, and Alcaraz really struggled.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and I mean, remember the ATP finals
Mm,
indoors, no sets dropped. He
yeah.
he really he really loves it.
hmm So are we they would say they would put the roof on like they always do it
Uh,
too early, don't they?
yeah, no, I think it would need to be like quite long,
Five
because
hours.
something close to that, because like it's grass tennis. Like even Alcaraz played 4 sets, including like a long set with a tiebreak, and I think it like barely crossed 3 hours. I actually don't even think it did.
Mm.
So they would need to play like many long rallies for some reason, which I don't think will happen all that often.
Yeah.
We'll see. Alcaraz we
I
won that, I think, but it
yeah.
seems hard to make happen.
I think it will. I do think they'll play some rallies. The thing
Oh
about
yeah.
men's grass court tennis is that for like 99.9% of the players, it's just shit to watch because they're serve bots. When you
Hmm.
get the best against the best, it is good because it's like we're both so good at everything that the rallies can extend far past
Yeah.
the point when you expect. I remember what I was going to say. I am always on watch for Carlos Alcaraz's forehand because as incredible a weapon as it is breakdownable. And what can
Hmm.
you do on grass? You can rush players. And what can you do when you're Jannik and you can take the ball insanely early and redirect and hit hard through the middle of the court? Is he's got all the tools to rush Alcaraz's forehand. Are we concerned that this might be a liability? Do you think that is going to be a tactic?
It should be. I mean, I think it often is. But I guess I do think he's pretty smart about the way he does it. The dumb way would just be to hit forehand to forehand, basically until Alcaraz really finds it, and now it's like you're in trouble because it's obviously this massive weapon.
Mm.
So yeah, I think he's pretty smart about this. For the most part, he'll like switch it up, like maybe stretch it on the backhand to then be able to go to the forehand, or even actually attack the forehand, go hard into it. Like be smart about like the baseline patterns. I think he's pretty good at that.
Mm.
But yeah, it might happen here and there. I guess it also depends how, like, if he starts a bit nervous, maybe. But I can't imagine it being like a whole like disaster, like the forehand like completely deserting him and him missing like 30 or something. I don't think that should could happen.
Mm. And any nerves? For some reason, I just had a feeling that Alcaraz is going to show up quite nervous at the beginning.
I mean, yeah, maybe actually I thought they were both actually pretty nervous early on. So
But I
like,
think I think there's a chance that like because of Alcaraz being in this position of this is now my court, I've won here
mm,
2 years in a row. I'm the one who just won Roland Garros. Whether he'll be, feel that favored status.
yes, maybe that's the thing. And I guess, about like playing on home turf and feeling like you're the natural surfaces guy and, he's a hard court guy. It's maybe it's a bit of a factor. I don't know.
Mm. And whether maybe Jannik is going to be a bit more loose because he doesn't feel that. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll see.
yeah, it's like I lost to I keep losing to this guy. He's won
Mm.
Wimbledon many times before. It's my first time.
Yeah.
Might feel like a bit more of a free hit for him, or I guess you would hope so.
Mm. Although having said that, is he going to feel
Hmm.
the Roland Garros
Yeah.
memories? They're very, very, very
Yep.
fresh, and obviously
The
should be
PTSD,
ticking.
the world trauma. Maybe that's a thing as well.
So predictions. How do you expect the match playing out? Who's winning, etc.
Mm, I'll go back to basically what I've said since the RG final and what I have had in my prediction in the preview. I'm going Sinner in five.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is this his first ever match win over 3 hours 50? Is it 3 hours 50? It is.
Um.
Or will he get it done in less than that?
Mm. I mean, technically, it could be 5 hours and still not be like 3 hours 50. That's also the thing about like best
5 sets.
times. Yeah, and I guess that's going way too deep with it. But like, if it's super long, I guess that means they'll play like a bunch of long rallies, and then maybe that benefits Alcaraz a bit more. So I guess we still want to get it done before that. I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know what could be really interesting dynamics? Over 3 hours 50, Sinner never won a match. 5 sets, Alcaraz only ever lost one match, but then the roof goes on for the fifth set.
Ooh, so
And
drama will.
and we all just are like, so now we've got indoor Alcaraz who's crap against indoor Sinner who's incredible, but we've got fifth set Alcaraz who's incredible against
Mm,
350 Sinner who's crap. Like so
yeah.
dramatic. Yeah.
To be fair,
I yeah.
I think 3 hours 50 is like not a thing. He didn't lose that much because it was 3 hours 50.
I'm sorry. He didn't
It
probably,
it
but
it it that
he
it's up
had
to the law,
he
but
had no. It's too uncanny. He had championship points at like 349 in Alcaraz's service game, and it ticked over 350, 351. Alcaraz held, and then it was his time to serve. It's just
mm,
too. And also, I was thinking this. I don't know if I said it. If Alcaraz never got down 3 championship points, if he just held that game like normal, it
yeah,
wouldn't have gone to 350 in that game. It would have been in Yannick's
so, yeah.
service game. So I think he did it on purpose.
May-
He was
I,
like, I
you
need
know,
to make this game long.
okay, you know what? I'll give you something. When people mention 3 hours 50 Sinner, it's about him potentially not being fit enough to win a match that goes that long. I think if anything now it might be in his head. Like maybe it's like the like Djokovic break poker same thing. It's like, oh, I know about the stat and now I'm like looking at the clock. It's like, ooh, maybe I'll
Mm.
lose now. But no, he held up physically
Yeah, no, it's
all the way through the 5 hours or however long it was. So
yeah. No, I don't think it's a physicality thing. I think it's a slightly quirky and
hmm,
amusing thing. I think
yeah,
that's and I'd be interested to see if it plays out. I really don't have a gauge on this match. Like I think I don't have strong feelings about it being incredible, but I don't have strong feelings about it being a beatdown either way. I think it could just be a little bit like their Roland Garros semi-final last year,
hmm,
where like sometimes one of them's playing well, and there's lots of sets, but they're not like great competitive
yeah,
sets.
sure, I can see that.
Or actually,
Ultimately, hmm,
specifically, Sinner is close in Alcaraz's sets, but Alcaraz isn't close in the sets that Sinner wins. I don't know. I I'm just throwing shit out there. Any last bits on that?
No, I think that's about how I feel. Oh yeah, I think most likely outcome is, or least likely outcome is straight sets. You know, I think that would be the
Yeah,
most
one
shocking thing
whoever loses is going to win a set. That's
for sure.
yeah.
I think yeah. Um, and I really can see 5 sets again. Mostly, it's four. I can see 4, but I can definitely see 5 as well.
Yeah. I guess I'll go with the opposite to you then and say Alcaraz at 5, but
Hmm.
I do have a strong, not as strong, but a much stronger feeling for Sinner than I did in Roland Garros, which was zero feeling. Like I like his chances so much more, and even then he was very close then. So yeah, but be interesting to see, and like if Alcaraz does get dethroned, and Sinner wins, like this kind of is an interesting prospect for Wimbledon in the next few years, because then it would feel like the slam where they're most matched, probably.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Hope you guys enjoy the match. Yeah. Let us know your thoughts and predictions about what you think is going to happen. You know what the game plan is and stuff. And yeah, you got to do the outro. I'm no good at it.
So yeah, thank you for listening again. This should be out a few hours before the match, so if you took the time, maybe that helped you wait a bit for the match, and it can maybe give you even some food for thought or something, or maybe some things to look out for in the match. At least that's what we hope for, and obviously we'll talk to you again very soon to like review the whole thing. In the meantime, thank you again for listening and enjoy. Bye.